At a basketball court, a boy falls to the ground, and his medical inhaler rolls away, but the bullies call him a nerd and say that his body and height are not made for basketball. The boy tries to gather the courage to reach his inhaler, but the bullies just laugh, say he won't live long and walk away. Just as it starts raining, a man walks up to the boy and tells him that he looks miserable lying on the ground, and that it doesn't matter what others think of him, and the most important thing is that he can't give up. The man then gives him a bottle of a strange potion and says he isn't sure if it will work, but it took him 15 years to find the formula. He pours the potion into the boy's mouth, explaining that the ancients, 3,000 years ago, used it to honor the gods, and legends say it has magical effects that can awaken the body's repair potential. However, the strange thing about this potion is that it depends on the user's own will to unlock its real power. Sometime later, a mythical thunderous energy starts flowing around the boy, and he completely unleashes that power. 2 months have passed and Asia's largest basketball sports center is holding a tournament. Manhwa Basketball City covers 65 hectares, with indoor and outdoor courts that can host 50 basketball games at the same time and accommodate 15,000 spectators all at once. At the same time, 2 boys walk into the stadium, and one of them is doing a live stream, telling his viewers that, for the opening of Manhwa City, the organizers have also arranged a special basketball exhibition game, and he will stream the whole event live for everyone. He adds that the most exciting part coming up is the main stadium, where the All-Star exhibition game will take place later. XIN-RAN, who is streaming, tells his audience to press the red hearts so he can stay motivated and explain the whole game to them. He then asks Shiau to help him because his other hand is injured, and he can't hold the camera properly with just one hand. Shiau asks why he even needs to hold the camera, but XIN-RAN reminds him that he can't appear on camera in his current state. He explains that the number of viewers is several times higher than usual, and not only are light boards flashing, but people are even sending rockets. Shiau tells him that the viewers haven't even reached double digits and it's always the same 2.5 people switching back and forth, including his relatives and friends. Hearing this, XIN-RAN gets furious, but Shiau tries to calm him, promising to treat him to something nice after the game. Afterwards, they step onto the stage to watch the exciting exhibition game live, but they are stunned by the massive stadium and how packed the audience is. It turns out that the 2 teams playing today are made up entirely of the top players in the country, and without exception, they are all basketball stars. The commentator tells the audience that the 107 basketball stars, voted every 5 years, are the highest level of professional players and represent the peak of modern basketball skill. The player on the court right now is basketball star number 38, known as the rebound flying hero, Luo Fei. He is flamboyant, loves to show off, and is a very charismatic player. The match begins with Luo Fei running straight toward the basket, showing off his excellent jumping and hang time ability. He tries to throw the ball into the basket with all his strength, but suddenly, a player appears out of nowhere and smashes the ball out of his hands. Seeing this, everyone is stunned because it's not something they usually see happen on the court. People start wondering how Luo Fei's fancy dunk was suddenly blocked, and some even think it's a special performance arranged by the organizers. XIN-RAN tells his audience that a black boy suddenly appeared on the court and blocked Luo Fei's shot with just one swipe. Meanwhile, all the players ask exactly who he is and if he was sent by the organizers. They say that if it was a planned show, they would have been told in advance. The boy, however, tells them it's not a show and introduces himself as Jason Lee, saying he just wants to teach them a lesson. He goes on to say that all of them are fools rather than real basketball players and they don't deserve to play. He then boldly challenges 10 basketball stars. Everyone gets angry because the boy is challenging 10 basketball players at the same time. XIN-RAN thinks he's so arrogant that it looks like he's just trying to get famous, but Shiau feels it's not that simple because the boy's speed was incredible as no one even saw him get on the court before he made his move, and how did he get all the way to the top of the court when security outside was so strict? Just then, the security guards gather to remove the young black man, but he tells everyone to calm down and pay attention to the noise. Suddenly, everyone hears the sound of a helicopter, and XIN-RAN wonders how a helicopter's sound could reach inside. Shiau quickly tells him to look up, and they see 4 drones carrying a huge object. The drones safely land the object in the middle of the court, and to everyone's shock, the object turns out to be made of gold. The young black man then tells everyone that the gold is his wager, worth 100 million, and if they don't believe him, they can have someone check it. He adds that if he loses, the gold will be theirs. After a discussion, the basketball stars and the organizers agree to the young black man's betting challenge, and everyone gathers at the outdoor open-air court. The rules are clear: the winning side will take the gold, but the losing side cannot play basketball for 5 years. Since an athlete's career is already short, being banned from playing for 5 years would be a devastating blow. The challenge will be one-on-one street basketball, and a huge crowd gathers to watch, including Shiau and SSS-Rank, who find a good high spot outdoors to get a clear view. The match begins with Luo Fei going against Jason, and he immediately starts mocking him, saying that all of Jason's earlier sneak blocks were just luck and that now he will face a real professional player. Seeing that, Jason quickly runs through Luo Fei and easily throws the ball in basket that surprises everyone. The match then continues with Jason completely dominating against other players, and he scores one after another. Meanwhile, in a van, a guy is actually collecting data of Jason and he wonders what the kinetic power and synchronization rate of the artificial implant are. It seems like the guy and his fellow scientists are controlling and giving instructions to Jason, saying he should increase kinetic power to 60%. However, the other guy tells Jason to do it fast because the purpose of the experiment is to test the limits of artificial biological tissue adaptation to the human body, and this opening ceremony is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The guy further thinks that it's not easy to gather 10 masters at once for testing as the public challenge, plus the extreme nationalist emotions stirred by aggressive words from tens of thousands of spectators. He then tells the other scientist to increase Jason's kinetic power, and Jason manages to boost it, making all his muscles swell and his entire body grow in size. Meanwhile, Shiau wonders why Jason suddenly stops moving and worries that he might be having a stroke or a seizure. One scientist tells the other that Jason's body readings are fluctuating violently and that a severe rejection reaction could happen, which in the worst case might be life-threatening. The other scientist responds firmly that no one is allowed to touch the artificial implant inside Jason, who is actually subject number 008. He then orders that the experiment be immediately terminated and that arrangements be made to evacuate the subject without delay. After that, Jason's body stabilizes, and a blue aura of energy begins flowing all over him. The scientist notes that his body readings are gradually becoming stable. Jason then quickly steals the ball from another player and shoots it into the basket at an insane speed, leaving everyone present completely shocked. SSS-Rank, who is currently live streaming the match, comments that the speed is so fast that no normal person could possibly do that. He glances around but he can't see Shiau anywhere. Afterward, Jason and the other players continue playing against each other for a while, each testing the other's abilities. Jason then tells the other man to give up immediately, but the man is shocked and wonders how this could even be possible. Jason calmly asks if there is anyone who dares to question his words. Hearing this, everyone in the stadium freezes and the commentators announce in disbelief that the match ends with the total and utter defeat of all 10 basketball stars. Nobody can believe how this mysterious young man managed to defeat 10 of the country's top professional players all by himself, as his speed, strength, and hang time are simply beyond what anyone has ever seen before. Jason then addresses the crowd, telling everyone that according to the original terms of the bet, for the next 5 years, none of these 10 basketball stars are allowed to play basketball or take part in any activities related to the sport in any way. At that moment, one of the players with bright red hair yells at Jason, insisting that he must have taken some kind of drug or performance enhancer, because played 10 intense consecutive games while still had full stamina and energy with absolutely no sign of fatigue is something that is completely impossible for a normal human being. Jason tells him to accept his fate because he finally lost and asks what kind of man blames others and refuses to admit defeat, but then he says that he knows that many people are not convinced here, so he is going to give them a chance. He then asks everyone if there is someone who can come onto the court and challenge him, and if that person wins, then he can take all the gold. Seeing that, everyone gets surprised and thinks that after just finishing a gauntlet challenge, he's openly challenging thousands of people present. After that, the crowd gets all stirred up and quiet. Few spectators have already entered the court, ready to challenge the young man. On the other hand, SSS-Rank thinks that if only his hand wasn't injured, then he could have also taken part in the challenge. Jason then tells the bunch of people entering the court that they don't need to go one-on-one all at once, but then, one of the guys steps forward, saying he is going to teach Jason a lesson on behalf of his parents. Meanwhile, the scientists are wondering why Jason isn't following the plan. One of them tells the other to try to stop Jason, but another scientist says they shouldn't interfere, because this is the perfect chance to test the full limits of subject Jason's abilities. After that, the match continues, and Jason completely dominates a group of new basketball players, leaving them no chance to fight back. Even after defeating them all, he taunts them, saying that they should just come at him if they want. At that moment, one of the players speaks up, saying that it's not over yet, and it turns out to be an old man. Jason laughs and tells him to just go home and sleep because he can't even stand steadily. The old man, however, says that he doesn't care about money at all, and that the only thing he truly cares about is basketball. Without hesitation, Jason passes the ball to the old man with unbelievable force. Everyone watching is shocked that a ball thrown by hand could hit with such enormous power. Just then, Shiau appears wearing a mask and stops the ball with just one hand, leaving everyone completely stunned. Shiau tells the old man to go and rest because he is going to handle Jason all by himself. He then challenges Jason to a one-on-one match, but Jason says that all the professional players he defeated before were nothing compared to him, and that he is going to destroy Shiau in basketball. After that, Shiau runs straight toward Jason, and just as Jason tries to jump and snatch the ball using his kinetic energy, Shiau skillfully dodges him completely and throws the ball into the basket, surprising everyone with his speed. The match continues and everyone watching is amazed as the mysterious boy suddenly speeds up, moving like a storm against the tight defense. Shiau easily breaks through the opponent's defense, and then he shoots the ball straight into the basket, a shot that Jason cannot block no matter how fast he reacts. 1 month ago, Shiau was practicing basketball alone in his small room when someone reminded him to take his medicine, to which he replied that he already had. Now, he is preparing himself to win the match this afternoon. While getting ready, Shiau notices that his mom is leaving early, so he asks her if she is going on another business trip. She confirms that she is, and when Shiau asks when she will return, she tells him that this time she will be accompanying 2 groups and won't be back for more than half a month. Before leaving, she tells Shiau that she has prepared meals and put them in the fridge, so he should just heat them up and eat. She also reminds him to eat properly and not neglect his studies even during the holidays because once he gets his report card, he should come straight home and not just wander around. Later that day, Shiau arrives early at the event, and on his way, he thinks about how only a few months are left before the Manhwa basketball city opens. He also remembers hearing that 10 basketball stars will hold an exhibition there, and he wishes he could watch it in person, though he isn't sure how easy it will be to get tickets. Shiau then steps into a shop to grab a soda, but one of the cans falls to the ground. Suddenly, a man in a wheelchair reacts with incredible reflexes and catches it instantly. Then, using his electric energy, the man spins the soda can quickly in the air and throws it back to its original place. Watching this, Shiau is completely shocked and can't believe how the soda can return to its spot so perfectly. Shiau is walking down the street, thinking that just a while ago, that big guy threw the drink was really amazing and the muscles in his arm looked like they were twisting. Furthermore, he thinks that he once heard of a power release method called spiral force, as this seems to follow the same principle, and if this technique could be used with Xian-Ran and Chinjie's offensive and defensive style, then they are sure to achieve an unexpected victory. Shiau then arrives at a basketball court where he finds Xian-Ran and Chinjie who were already there practicing their techniques. Xian-Ran tells Shiau that Chinjie and he will handle it today, so he should just watch closely and analyze their strategies and tactics as they must win. Just then, 3 other players arrive at the court and ask Xiaoyu's team if they want to lose to them again, and according to the bet, if they lose today then they will never step foot on this court again. However, Xian-Ran asks him where he gets this confidence with his pathetic skills. This is a public court, which means that anyone has the right to play here, so the ones who should leave him. After that, both teams get ready according to the 3-on-3 street basketball rules, where the team that scores gets to keep attacking, and a coin flip decides who starts with the ball. The match begins, and an opponent quickly steals the ball from Xian-Ran and runs straight toward the basket. But Xian-Ran quickly catches up to him, so the player passes the ball to his teammate instead. The teammate jumps from far away to try a shot, but Shiau notices that the ball's trajectory is off and thinks it's not going to go in. He quickly yells at Xian-Ran to catch the ball. The shot hits the basket and bounces, and Xian-Ran grabs it just in time. Everyone watching is shocked and shouts at the teammate to get the ball because it looks like Xian-Ran might not secure the rebound. The ball makes it to Xian-Ran, who calls the other guy a fool for starting the attack too soon just to try scoring quickly. Now it's Xiaoyu's turn to attack, and he quickly passes the ball back to Xian-Ran to continue the play. After that, Xian-Ran breaks through another guy and tells him that if he wants to beat him then he has to first catch up with his speed. Afterwards, Xian-Ran quickly jumps in the air and throws the ball in the basket, scoring another point for the team. Seeing that, the opponent team's player thinks that they can't keep going like this as they need to change strategy and how Xian-Ran has strong skills. Moreover, they think about Xiaoyu, who has sharp eyes and he seems to have excellent analytical skills, so he can predict the gaps during the match. The other team thinks they should focus their defense on the other two, especially Xian-Ran. On the other hand, Xianran realizes that the opponent team has figured out that Xiaoyu isn't good at playing in real games, so they are focusing their defense on him and Qinjie, and now they can't get the ball or attack, and if Xiaoyu tries to approach the offense, they steal the ball from him easily, but from this distance even if Xiaoyu tries to shoot, he won't hit the basket. However, Xianyu wonders that the other team focused all their defense on Xianran and Qinjie as they completely ignored him, but then, he tries to use the big guy's move, that is the spiral force. He believes that as long as he launches it properly, the shot should be possible from this distance. After that moment, Xiaoyu prepares himself to display a skill that he personally created, a special move he named the Hurricane Ball, showing his confidence in his own ability. Xiaoyu then gets into position to throw the ball, and as he does, the entire ball becomes wrapped in a swirling flow of electrical energy, which immediately shocks everyone watching and makes them question what he is planning to do and how he could possibly shoot the ball from such a far distance. Some of the players begin to doubt him, thinking that with Xiaoyu's height and physical strength, there is no possible way he could successfully make the shot, and they openly mock him by calling him a fool. Moments later, Xiaoyu releases the ball with overwhelming force, and the power of the throw is so intense that it even surprises Xianran, who wonders what kind of shot that could be and realizes that Xiaoyu truly seems very different today. Xiaoyu then throws an incredibly powerful shot that flies straight toward the basket, but just as it is about to go in, it lands in the hands of a player from the opposing team. For a moment, everyone goes silent, stunned by what happened, but then the two players from the other team start laughing like maniacs. They mock Xiaoyu, asking if he really calls that a shot and teasing him relentlessly. Meanwhile, Qinjie gets furious, thinking that the opportunity was completely wasted. He yelled at Xiaoyu, asking why he didn't pass the ball when he had the chance and instead decided to shoot on his own. Xiaoyu tries to explain that he was being tightly marked, so he thought shooting alone was the better option, but Qinjie argues that if a strategist stays in position and gives directions, it's more effective after all. When has anyone ever seen Zhuge Liang fight on the front lines himself? Qinjie realizes that Xiaoyu doesn't want to give up, but his body is clearly not letting him play at full strength. Xiaoyu replies quietly that he was supposed to give up, acknowledging how limited he feels right now. Hearing that, Xianran quickly grabs him by his neck and tells him that his shot was amazing, just like a Kamehameha from Dragon Ball. He asks Xiaoyu when he trained for that move, as the three players from the opposing team were standing there in shock. However, Qinjie says that there is nothing amazing about that because not only he didn't score, but he literally handed the ball over to the other team with both hands. Afterward, the match continues with the other team getting the ball and they start mocking Xiaoyu's team, saying they were supposed to defeat them but now they are playing like a bunch of clowns. The opposing team player then throws the ball that goes straight inside the basket, but Xiaoyu catches it and passes it back to Xianran, who runs straight through another player. After that, Xianran tries to throw the ball in basket, but another player from the opposite team quickly blocks the shot and calls Xianran a weakling, asking if they are aware that the match is going to end soon and they left them with 2 goals and they took it seriously, that's their real level. Xianran and the blue-haired guy get into an argument by passing comments to each other one after another. Xianran tells him that if they score just 1 goal, they will beat them, so there is still time, which means that they are going to win. The game continues as the opposing team gains possession of the ball, and they repeatedly pass it among themselves while looking for an opening, until Xianran carefully observes their movement and finds the perfect timing to intercept and steal the ball. Right after taking the ball away, Xianran immediately charges straight toward the basket, while several players from the opposing team chase closely behind him in an attempt to catch up. Even though the opponent team puts in their full effort to block him and prevent him from scoring another goal, Xianran calmly makes a last-second decision and passes the ball to Xiaoyu instead. As Xiaoyu prepares to shoot, he recalls that the way he kicked the ball earlier was not correct, since his uncle was able to shoot using only one hand, but because Xiaoyu lacks enough strength, he normally needs to use both hands together. Still, Xiaoyu chooses to repeat the same technique he used before, believing that this time he will be able to succeed. Just as Xiaoyu is about to throw the ball, a sharp pain suddenly shoots through his chest, making it much harder for him to use his power, and spiral energy is starting to fade, and he knows he has to seize this moment to strike quickly. But seeing this, a player from the opposite team gets furious that Xiaoyu is trying to take advantage of the situation and immediately jumps at him, slapping the ball out of his hand. The slap also hits Xiaoyu's face, causing him to fall hard onto the ground. Xianran runs straight toward him, trying to help, but it's too late. The opposing team then starts mocking Xiaoyu, saying he's really good at dragging his teammates into trouble and joking that he should change his name to the King of Disasters. They laugh even more, claiming that the match has barely begun and Shiau already looks like a walking corpse, so anyone who joins his team should probably buy accident insurance or even life insurance. At that moment, Chunjie gets furious at Shiau because Xian got injured and passed out just trying to save him. After that, the red head guy calls Shiau and his teammates weaklings, saying they haven't even used their full strength and they have already fallen. They continue to mock and make fun of Shiau and the others, which makes him furious, but Chunjie warns him not to fight back, reminding him that their priority is to get Xian to the hospital as fast as possible. Suddenly, Xiaoyu's heart starts racing, and he struggles to breathe as an asthma attack hits him hard, leaving him weak and panicked. Seeing this, Chunjie quickly asks if Shiau is okay and stresses again that they need to hurry so Xian can get medical help. But Shiau tells them to go on without him, saying he will catch up later, while he desperately searches for his medicine to calm himself down. Just as he reaches out to grab it, one of the bullies cruelly kicks the medicine farther away, putting it completely out of his reach and making the situation even more hopeless. The boy with blue hair mocks Shiau, saying that intelligence alone will never get him anywhere in basketball and that the sport was never meant for someone like him. Despite his exhaustion, Shiau struggles and crawls toward the medicine, giving it everything he has. But no matter how hard he tries, he still cannot reach it. At that exact moment, rain begins to fall from the sky, soaking him and adding to his frustration. Shiau finds himself trapped between several strange spirits that appear to be trying to grab and capture him, yet he repeatedly tells himself that he is not afraid of any of them and refuses to show fear. Soon after that, he regains consciousness in a mysterious and unfamiliar place, and the first thing he wonders about is where his medicine has gone. As his thoughts slowly clear, he recalls that Xian broke his hand after falling on it, and that shortly after Shiau himself suffered an asthma attack. At the same time, he begins to realize that he can breathe smoothly and easily now, without feeling any blockage or difficulty at all, which makes him confused about what is happening to his body. He then notices something even stranger, which is that he is no longer wearing his glasses, even though he is severely nearsighted with 400 degrees, making it extremely unusual that he can see everything around him so clearly without them. He then notices that someone is standing directly in front of him, and after taking a closer look, he realizes that the person is a Taoist elder, which makes Shiau wonder if this is the one who actually saved his life. However, the Taoist elder appears to be deeply focused on meditation, so when Shiau asks if he was the one who saved him, the elder gives no response at all and remains completely silent. Shiau then begins to observe his surroundings more carefully and realizes that the place is extremely strange, especially because the tall pillars around them are not supporting the roof in any way, even though each pillar is about 4 to 5 meters high, which makes him question what their real purpose is. Once again, Shiau asks the elder what this place is, but the Taoist elder still does not give any kind of reply, causing Shiau to continue asking repeatedly. He even tries speaking in different languages, such as Japanese and Korean, hoping to get a reaction, but just as Shiau reaches out to touch the elder, the Taoist elder suddenly leaps into the air and firmly steps down on top of Xiaoyu's head. After that, the elder jumps up onto one of the pillars and asks Shiau why he thought he was dead, saying calmly that he is only 120 years old. Hearing this, Shiau is shocked and wonders how someone could still be 120 years old, and he asks the elderly if he can actually hear him. The elder replies that just because he isn't speaking doesn't mean he can't hear all this nonsense. Shiau then asks how an old man like him could jump all the way to the top of the pillar. He starts thinking that the height of the elder's jump must have been more than 3 meters from the ground, and without using any tools, it seems impossible for a human to jump like that. Shiau begins doing some mental calculations and realizes that the force needed to push off his head wouldn't even reach 1% of the elder's weight, unless he could somehow change his mass at will, like in the myths he's read about. Shaken, Shiau pinches his own cheeks, thinking that maybe this is all just a dream and that he hasn't woken up yet. He quickly pulls out his phone and tries to call someone for help, but then notices that it has no battery and no signal at all. Shiau then gets on his knees and thinks that he is in big trouble now because he has fallen into the hands of this 120 years old man who is not going to leave him alone. However, the old man says young people these days are trash without their phones. The old man tells Shiau that if he wants to leave then the door is behind him, but when Shiau turns around, he can't find any door, so the old man gets furious and tells him to look above him. Shiau gets shocked to see that the door is so high, but the old man calls him useless and tells him to climb up here. However, Shiau asks what the old man is talking about, saying that this kind of detention is illegal and demanding that he be let out immediately. The elderly replies that the door is right there, and if Shiau is capable, then he should leave by himself. He adds that people like Shiau are only good at showing off, always claiming that their fate is in their own hands and not controlled by the heavens, but when real disaster strikes, they are the first to run away without even having the courage to try. Shiau responds that this kind of provocation won't work for him and says he doesn't have time to waste on the old man's madness because he needs to find a way out as soon as possible. Shiau then starts punching the wall several times, but he quickly realizes that every wall around him is completely solid. He searches carefully for a hidden door or secret exit, but he fails to find anything. Growing anxious, he begins shouting for help, yet no one answers him or even hears his voice. Finally, Shiau turns back to the old man and asks if they can negotiate some terms. When the old man still doesn't respond, Shiau tells him to say something, warning that if he dies here because of his asthma, then the old man will be responsible for causing the death of a human being. Shiau gets frustrated and realizes that he has to find a way out himself because the old man is not going to reply to him at all and the only option he has left is to climb this pillar first. He wonders that even if he reaches the top, the door is still 3 or 4 meters above, so how can he get it, and the pillar is super thick, which means that it is at least 3 or 4 meters tall and there is nothing to hold on, so climbing to the top with his bare hands is nearly impossible. We then get a flashback, where Xian and Shiau are climbing a tree and Xian tries to encourage Shiau, telling Shiau that he has tried more than 10 times already, so he should stop or else he will get an asthma attack that could be dangerous. However, Shiau is firm that he wanted to climb all the way up by himself. Xian tries to teach Shiau, saying he just needs a place to plant his foot to push himself up and use his shoulder and pretend he climbed using his own strength. Back in the present, Shiau realizes that as long as he has a foothold, the surface of the pillar will get completely smooth, so even if he wraps his clothes around, the friction wouldn't be enough to support his body weight. Shiau's sneakers have anti-slip soles, which are able to generate strong friction with the surface of the pillar, so he needs to use his running momentum then jump at the right spot to push himself up just like parkour athletes. Furthermore, he believes that if he gets the speed, strength, and body angle just right while jumping, then he should be able to do 3 consecutive jumps and reach the top. Afterward, Shiau suddenly runs straight toward the tall pillar and even manages to climb part of the way up, but he soon loses his grip and falls hard onto the ground. Seeing this, the old man thinks the fall looks painful and believes that Shiau will finally give up, but Shiau struggles and forces himself to get back on his feet despite the pain spreading through his body. He quickly tries to climb the pillar again, but it still doesn't work, so he keeps repeating the process over and over without stopping. The old man notices that Shiau adjusts his technique after every failure, and in such a short amount of time, he has already reached a surprising height, which makes him realize that Shiau is not an ordinary kid. Shiau doesn't realize that the potion he drank earlier has unknowingly activated the dormant phantom particles hidden inside his body. In the end, Shiau finally manages to climb the pillar, and just as he is about to fall again, he grabs onto it with one hand, and at that exact moment, his special ability suddenly activates. Shiau is completely covered in his new ability, but he ends up falling from the pillar, so the old man quickly gets out of his pillar and gets to the ground, so that he can catch Shiau. But Shiau finally regains his consciousness and grabs the pillar wall using one hand. Turns out Shiau is looking all buffed up like Sam Sulek. Seeing this, the old man realizes that the situation is very bad, because the pain and pleasure have activated the drug's effects inside Shiau. He senses that the phantom particles created by Xiaoyu's body are expanding at an unbelievable speed, and this rebound force has begun to take control of his mind. Shiau starts seeing strange illusions, and in his confused state, he even sees the old man as a basketball and suddenly rushes straight toward him. The old man quickly uses his ability and strikes Shiau in the chest, explaining that his body is filled with powerful inner energy, but it is scattered and completely disordered, so he needs to guide it back to its source. After that, the old man strikes several vital points across Xiaoyu's body and then uses a Baihui point technique along with other methods, such as energy convergence, to gather and focus the power on the energy center. Once this is done, Shiau slowly returns to a normal state, and he begins to feel a gentle, warm flow constantly moving inside his body. Confused but calm, he starts wondering what exactly just happened to him. The old men tell him not to speak and focus his mind and press his tongue against the roof of his mouth and breath through his nose. He tells Shiau to remember the breathing method and warns him not to mix inhaling and exhaling, instead telling him to use his heart and senses to feel the power inside his body. The old man explains that this power does not come from just one organ, but from every breath Shiau takes, from every drop of blood flowing through him, and from every single cell in his body. He says Shiau must learn to control this power and turn it into his servant. The old man adds that Shiau should let this power move toward what he desires the most in life and make sure it follows his own free will, so he can achieve everything he wants. After hearing this, Shiau slowly gains control over his body and suddenly feels strange about his point of view, because the old man now looks much shorter standing in front of him. Shiau quickly realizes that something is wrong, and he understands that he has grown taller and become even stronger and more muscular than before. It turns out, inside the cells of the human body, there are mitochondria, and through aerobic respiration, they can convert food and water into energy and body needs. However, when the energy channels in the body vibrate at a specific frequency, there are mitochondrial cells that can generate a special particle called the virtual particle, which is known in Taoist terminology as QI. Furthermore, it is said that controlling virtual particles allows a person to surpass the limits of their body and do unbelievable things, but the secret potion Shiau drank didn't just activate his body cells and accelerate his growth, but it also triggered the vibration of his energy pathways, enabling the production of virtual particles through regulated breathing. The old man then explains that a while ago, under the effect of blood and pain, Shiau's pathways began vibrating chaotically, which caused the virtual particles to multiply rapidly and spread throughout his body, but he couldn't control them, so the old man is going to teach him how to control them. However, the old man wants to teach him a type of movement exercise, which differs from traditional stillness meditation. He explains that this method, when practiced with the proper breathing technique, can strengthen bones and tendons and help him control the energy vibrations, and that way, he will be able to use the virtual particles. After that, Shiau charges up his chi and he manages to climb the pillar with one go and gets excited about it, but the old man asks him if he really cares about jumping over the pillar. The old man then tells Shiau that the pillar is above him, so he must jump to get there, but Shiau says that the pillar is too far from the door and the door is also high up, so there is no place to push off from. The old man asks him if he thinks that in this arena there are pillars to help him jump, but Shiau quickly jumps from the pillar, but he gets to the ground as the distance is too far. After that, the old man shows Shiau how easily it is done, so he jumps from the pillar and manages to place right foot on top of his left and reaches the door easily, which shocks Shiau. However, Shiau then wonders how he even used the virtual particles to become extremely light. Pushing off with the same foot would pull the body downward. The old man then tells Shiau that this is called cloud ascending technique, which accumulated virtual particles released all at once during use, and the more particle released at that moment, the greater the force generated. He further explains that when the virtual particles reach their peak, they can, in a single instant, cancel the effect of gravity, and to achieve this effect, there is one important key, and that is happiness. Furthermore, he explains that the happiest memories in the heart stimulate the brain to produce endorphins, which in turn push the virtual particles to their maximum potential in a moment. Hearing that, Shiau gets all pumped up and quickly jumps onto the top of the pillar to use it as a launch point, which gives him enough energy to rise, but he lacks enough force for horizontal movement. Therefore, the old man thinks that it's better to use the side of the pillar itself as a foothold. By pushing off diagonally upward from the side of the pillar, he can reduce the horizontal gap between the pillar and the door. On the other hand, Shiau almost reaches the top, thinking about his past and happiness. Shiau loses his balance and falls down. At that moment, memories of his childhood with his mother suddenly rush back into his mind. In this flashback, Shiau is seen walking beside his mother, who gently tells him that since his asthma condition has improved a little, he is now allowed to eat as much food as he wants. As they walk, Shiau notices another cheerful family playing happily nearby, which makes him curious, so he asks his mother what his father looked like and whether he would ever be able to see him one day. Shiau's mother then tells him to be a good and obedient child and explains that his father went to a very faraway place, meaning Shiau will not be able to see him for a very long time. Later, when Shiau returns home, he searches for a photo album so he can try to find his father's face, but instead, he accidentally discovers a box that his mother had always stopped him from opening before. Shiau opens the box and discovers a basketball inside along with a handwritten note left by his father, in which his father apologizes for not being by his side when he was born and explains that the basketball is the very first gift he is giving to him. In the note, his father also expresses hope that one day they will be able to stand together on the court and play basketball side by side as father and son. Returning to the present, Shiau finally regains full control over his body and quickly copies the same movement technique that the old man had used earlier, allowing him to rise higher even though there is still some distance left to cover. After that, Shiau activates the spiral boost technique with determination and successfully manages to reach the gate ahead of him. Seeing this, the old man is completely shocked, unable to believe that even though Shiau still cannot fully control the cloud ascending technique during such a dangerous and critical moment, he was still able to create an entirely new move to cover the gap and succeed. Shiau then expresses his gratitude to the old man for teaching him the principles and skills behind these techniques, showing his respect and appreciation. In response, the old man tells Shiau that it is time for him to go and reminds him that he must never forget his pure intent, warning that if he does, he will slowly stray away from the correct path. After that, Shiau steps forward and walks through what is supposed to be the exit, but he quickly finds it strange because no matter where he looks around him, nothing actually resembles an exit at all. Shiau then walks straight into the strange, glowing light and suddenly sees flames burning all around him, making it feel as if he has entered a hidden and secret chamber. Without any warning, the door behind him suddenly shuts tightly, and Shiau feels confused as he realizes there is no other visible exit from this place. At that moment, a basketball suddenly flies toward him and hits his head, causing Shiau to cry out and ask if anyone is there. However, the basketball keeps striking him again and again, making it clear that someone is intentionally throwing it at him repeatedly. Shiau quickly understands that a person is hiding in the darkness and attacking him using a basketball, and each shot is extremely fast and powerful. Because the darkness completely blocks his vision, he cannot see who the attacker is. He realizes that the attacks never stop, making it almost impossible to dodge every hit, so he decides that the only way forward is to force the hidden attacker to reveal themselves. Just after that, the person in the darkness launches another basketball toward Shiau, and Shiau suddenly remembers the old man's warning that mastering consecutive palm movements allows him to react quickly, reminding himself that this technique could save his life during a critical moment. After that, Shiau makes an attempt to use the palm move technique that he had learned and he successfully manages to block the shot that was heading straight toward him in his direction, but then the ball suddenly moves back to the mysterious guy who is standing in the shadows. The mysterious guy is quite impressed with Xiao's abilities, and he realizes that the old man must have definitely taught him a few helpful tricks and techniques. However, the guy then introduces himself as the guardian of this particular tower and welcomes Shiau to the Tower of Fire with open arms. Shiau is surprised and shocked to see that this guy actually looks exactly like John Wick, and he tells him that he has completely mastered the cloud ascension technique that he learned. The cheap copy of John Wick then explains to him that this place is actually called the Tower of Five Elements, and that the old man he had met earlier was the guardian of the Wood Tower, and he himself is the guardian of the Fire Tower. Furthermore, he explains to Shiau that this tower is specifically meant to train his basketball skills to their absolute limits, and it has 5 different levels as each level has its own guardian who protects it, and the challenger must successfully pass each level's trial to keep climbing upward and eventually escape from the tower. The guy then asks Shiau if he is ready because they are going to begin their mission and training right now, but Shiau gets scared and says that he is not ready at all for this challenge. He then asks him if blocking the ball is enough to pass the level and move forward, but the John Wick lookalike tells him and explains that blocking is just the first step of the challenge, and he also has to shoot it into a hoop that is constantly moving along the wall without stopping. However, Shiau is surprised to see a moving hoop with lights flickering that is making it extremely hard for him to catch the ball accurately. The ball gets to Shiau, who then quickly runs towards the basket and hoop and uses his cloud ascension technique that he learned to throw into the hoop with all his strength, but John Wick punches him hard and says that the one rule here in this tower is not approaching the hoop at all. John Wick then gives the ball back to Shiau, who realizes and understands that even though shooting is incredibly difficult and challenging for him, if he focuses carefully on the hoop's location and calculates its movement path and speed with precision, and predicts where it will be next in the future, then he can throw a spinning ball using spiral force to make the shot. Shiau then throws the ball with great concentration, and it goes straight towards the hoop, but John Wick shoots the ball in midair, saying that he never said he wouldn't interfere with his shot or block his attempt. Seeing this, Shiau asks how the man is able to have a gun, but John Wick only responds by joking around, which immediately makes Shiau angry, causing him to point out that in their country, privately owning a gun is illegal. Right after that, John Wick suddenly throws the basketball straight toward Shiau, but he manages to dodge it every single time without getting hit. Shiau then quickly shoots the ball back toward the basket, yet it makes no difference because John Wick easily shoots it down every time before it can score. John Wick then explains that on the basketball court, the timing of releasing a shot is the most important factor, and he adds that even though Shiau has learned how to control vacuum particles, he still cannot fire them continuously without proper timing and control. He further adds that each activation only lasts a split second and very brief moment, and that's why he must perfect his timing with absolute precision, otherwise even if he unleashes vacuum particles and misses the moment and opportunity, He won't be much stronger than an ordinary player with regular abilities. Xiao's last shot then reaches the hoop and gets very close, but John Wick destroys it as usual like he always does and thinks and believes that he was right about the fact that Xiao has got incredible potential and natural talent, as that last shot almost made it in and scored, and in a short amount of time that has passed, he managed to catch his passes precisely and accurately and even block his shot mid-throw, which is truly impressive and remarkable. Hearing that compliment and praise, Xiao gets excited and asks if he can go now and leave the tower, but John Wick tells him and explains that the real test starts now and hasn't even begun yet. He explains and clarifies that he will have to complete it in total darkness without any light, and only then will he truly succeed. After that moment, Xiao charges up his chi energy inside his body, thinking and understanding that the release of vacuum particles lasts only an instant, but it charges his body completely and activates his cells throughout his entire system, granting him perception and awareness beyond human limits and capabilities. Xiao can now feel and sense 3 balls coming towards him in different directions, as one is coming straight at his head directly, and another one is spinning to the right side, and lastly one is curving to the left in an arc. However, Xiao uses the spiral spin technique that he has learned and manages to throw the ball away from him with great skill, but John Wick thinks and believes that he is showing quite impressive performance and progress as he adapts that quickly to the challenge. He then manages to shoot the ball down with precision that almost goes inside the hoop and nearly scores, but Xiao smiles confidently and says that this is not over yet and the battle continues. Hearing that, John Wick looks behind him and discovers that he missed to shoot the last ball that goes inside the basket and scores successfully. Xiao then starts acting all high and mighty with confidence and says that he knows he is quite surprised by this outcome, but John Wick explains that the last time he threw at him with force, there were 3 balls along with the 2 spinning balls to the left and right sides, and there was also a super fast straight ball moving quickly, so he still wonders and questions where that straight ball disappeared to and went. He continues explaining that Xiao used the spiral drive technique skillfully and threw 2 balls towards the hoop at the same time simultaneously, and 2 opposing forces were generated and created, making a powerful tornado effect that covered up the sound and trajectory of the super-fast straight ball completely. He further adds and repeats that 2 opposing forces were generated and produced, creating a powerful tornado with strong winds that covered up the sound and trajectory of the super-fast straight ball effectively. Surprisingly, the ball that Xiao caught first was that straight ball moving quickly, but with his extreme speed and quick reflexes, he made it spin rapidly in front of him as if it had paused for a moment and stopped in time, and in that exact moment, he caught the 2 spinning balls with his hands. Hearing that detailed explanation, Xiao says and confirms that he is right and correct, as even if his plan had worked perfectly with his shooting speed and accuracy, he could have destroyed the ball before it reached the hoop and scored. Xiao then says that he once watched a video on a military weapons channel online, so he knows and understands that his pistol holds 17 rounds of ammunition, and the half second during the reload was the perfect chance and opportunity for him to score successfully. John Wick then starts clapping for him with appreciation, saying and declaring that he is the fastest person he has ever seen pass the Tower of Fire test in history, and now he is allowed to leave and move forward. Xiao then walks towards the next door with determination, thinking and believing that the next stage is the Water Tower Challenge. He finally arrives at the stage but is surprised to see that the water tower turned out to be a train station, as even the walls of this closed room project a blue sky. However, a person standing directly in front of Xiao introduces herself as Reunited, explaining that she is the guardian of the water tower and that she is responsible for stopping anyone who tries to pass. She then warns Xiao that at this stage, if he boards the train, he may end up leaving for good, which causes Xiao to panic and at once sprint toward the train without hesitation. Before he can get close, Reunited easily throws him aside, revealing that she is actually a woman with overwhelming strength, and to Xiao, she feels even more powerful than the 2 guardians he faced before. Xiao also senses that her strength is gentle on the surface yet incredibly fierce underneath, much like the raging waves of the ocean, but this does not stop him from attempting to use the cloud riding art to bypass her directly. Xiao manages to leap in front of her, but she instantly grabs him and calmly points out that while his movements contain enough power, he clearly lacks the flexibility needed to truly control them. Reunited then pushes Xiao away using her special ability, sending him flying back with controlled but overwhelming force. As he stumbles backward, Xiao suddenly begins to think deeply about basketball and what it truly means. He realizes that even though a basketball court looks wide and open at first, when facing 10 opponents at the same time, it can suddenly feel extremely narrow, almost like being pressed against a wall by powerful defenders with no space to escape. He understands that winning is not about breaking through others using only raw strength, but about thinking smarter and using the opponent's own power against them in the right way. At that moment, Shiau realizes that flexibility does not equal weakness, just like water, because nothing in the world appears softer or weaker than water, yet when it faces something hard, nothing can truly overcome it. In a sudden flash of memory, Shiau remembers Xian-Ran once telling him that he should learn to be like water. Xian-Ran had explained that he watched a video the day before, where a martial arts philosopher said the same thing, teaching that true strength comes from flexibility and the hidden power of water. Xian-Ran further explains to Shiau that although his speed is already very fast, on a basketball court where situations can change in a single instant, speed itself is not enough to guarantee success. He points out that sometimes too much tension can work against a player, causing mistakes instead of results, and that Shiau needs to learn how to relax while still remaining strong, becoming powerfully flexible like water. Returning to the present moment, Shiau successfully manages to slip past the woman, but as she tries to strike him again, he quickly dodges her attack and skillfully uses her own strength against her. In the end, Shiau boards the train and departs for the next stage, which is known as the Golden Tower. Upon arriving at the Golden Tower, Shiau is greeted by its guardian, a man who looks like he stepped straight out of a K-drama, creating a strong and memorable impression. After that, Shiau spends some time training with the steel-fisted guardian before finally leaving the place completely. Shiau then finds himself standing among the mountains, where he realizes that he can finally return to the city and face the true test that awaits him next. Shiau gets back home to his house and quickly starts eating food because he was starving and the food at the tower was just too disgusting to eat. After finishing all the food, Shiau checks out his clothes in his closet only to realize that he doesn't even fit in his clothes anymore because his body has changed, so he wonders about when his mom is going to come back home as he needs to make her buy him some new clothes that actually fit. Shiau decides to stay naked for the entire day without any clothing because he has nothing to wear anymore that fits his body, but then suddenly, his mom shows up and arrives home. However, Xiaoyu's mom freaks out because she thinks that he is just some random freaky creep who broke into their house and even stripped naked inside. She then tries to kill him, but Shiau tries to explain that he is really her son and not a stranger, and he tells her the password to the family card that surprises her completely. She then asks Shiau what exactly happened to him, so he attempts to explain that he drank a strange and unknown potion, which caused him to change into his current state, something that even he himself does not fully understand. Later that same day, Shiau gets a different haircut and goes to visit the same uncle who uses a wheelchair at a nearby store, hoping to talk to someone he trusts. During their conversation, Shiau tells the uncle that he is also a professional basketball player and carefully explains the entire situation from beginning to end. After hearing everything, the uncle is clearly surprised and says that if he did not already know so many detailed things about Xiaoyu's past, he would never believe that the person standing in front of him is truly Xiaoyu. He then tells Shiau that he managed to get him a ticket to the opening ceremony of the City of Nations, which makes Shiau extremely excited, and filled with happiness, Shiau quickly leaves the store without wasting any time. After that, Shiau visits a hospital where Xian-Ran has been staying in and he thinks about how his injury is doing now and if he is getting better. On his way through the hospital, some girls start staring at Shiau with interest as they think that he looks like a handsome young man who is very attractive. Shiau then finds Xian-Ran's room and enters it, but he doesn't recognize him at first because of his changed appearance. After a moment, Shiau explains the entire situation to him and tells him everything that happened. Shiau then shows him the ticket to the opening of the City of Nations game and says that it's a special gift for breaking his arm and causing him injury. A month later, Shiau is facing Jason in the basketball court where Jason tries to challenge him head-to-head. Furthermore, Jason claims that Xiaoyu is hiding behind a mask only because he is afraid to show his true face, saying that this is actually a smart decision, because if Xiaoyu had not done so, Jason would have already smashed him down like a beaten stray dog. Right after saying this, Jason suddenly charges straight toward Xiaoyu and aggressively tries to steal the ball from him. However, Xiaoyu reacts instantly, skillfully dodging Jason's attempt before sprinting straight past him and performing a series of incredible movements, finishing by throwing the ball cleanly into the basket. Seeing this unbelievable play, the crowd completely explodes with excitement, unable to believe that such a mysterious boy could possess skills like these, and many of them start demanding to see more of Jason's moves as well. Despite this, Jason coldly tells Xiaoyu that his chances of winning today's match are still zero, and he confidently claims that he will soon make the reason for that perfectly clear. Jason then grabs the ball and immediately tries to sprint toward the hoop, but Xiaoyu quickly notices that Jason is attempting to rely on his usual speed to force his way through. It soon becomes clear that Jason was not actually diving straight in, but instead using a clever feint, and at the last moment, he throws the ball directly toward the basket. Everyone watching assumes that Jason is making a strong comeback, as it seems like the momentum of the match is shifting, but Shiau is taken completely by surprise. He realizes that Jason has been tricking him all along with that sudden, direct style of attack, and that Shiau had been far too focused on blocking Jason's rapid charges and preparing for head-on-head physical clashes. Seeing this, Jason tells his master to raise his energy output by another 10%, explaining that his goal is to crush Shiau in a single, decisive strike and end the match immediately. However, the scientists observing the scene think that this is a very risky move, because Shiau is no ordinary fighter, and it has been many years since they have seen anyone from the superclass perform at this level. They recall his earlier dunking move, which seemed like a raging storm and left a strong impression on them. Despite their concerns, the scientists decide to grant Jason the requested boost, recognizing that this is also a rare opportunity for them to test the limits of their own technology and capabilities. After that, Jason's energy output is increased by 10%, making him noticeably faster and stronger than before, raising the intensity of the match to a whole new level. Shiau manages to steal the ball from Jason, calling his tricks cheap, and immediately leaps forward to throw the ball into the hoop, even as Jason quickly follows close behind. Jason tries everything he can to take the ball back, but then he activates his special ability, stating that Shiau is better than all the other weaker players on the court, yet this court is his kingdom, and anyone who stands in his path to domination, including Shiau, must be eliminated as an obstacle. However, Shiau immediately retorts that it sounds like Jason is daydreaming because he is not going to hand over the ball so easily. Thinking quickly, Shiau changes his direction while rotating his arm in full motion, throwing the ball perfectly so that it goes straight into the basket. Witnessing this, one of the scientists observing the match remarks that Shiau is clearly no amateur, and the technique he just displayed reminds him of someone he knows from the past. The scientists then inform Jason that they are increasing his power by another 10%, instructing him to push himself to use his full strength during the match, though Jason wonders why they are even concerned about Shiau in the first place. At the same time, Shiau begins to wonder whether the scientists are targeting him because of his hidden potential or for some other unknown reason, but he firmly decides that he will not allow that to happen, as he is determined to break Jason at the very first chance he gets. Immediately after that, Jason charges straight toward Shiau, relying on his incredible speed to dash past him, but Shiau refuses to back down and instantly pursues him, keeping up without hesitation and refusing to lose ground. Jason attempts every trick in his playbook to stop Shiau from following him, but no matter what he does, Shiau manages to keep up, so Jason decides to strike him with his insane speed directly. Seeing this, everyone is unable to understand why Shiau suddenly loses his balance when Jason's arm does not even make contact with him, and the movement is so fast that it happens too quickly for the cameras to even register it as a foul. After that, Jason throws the ball toward the basket with all his strength, but Shiau jumps as high as he possibly can with unbelievable elevation and successfully blocks the ball before it can go in. Seeing this, everyone watching is completely shocked, because they can't believe that a mysterious player like Shiau is able to stop Jason with such insane hang time and vertical leap, and many people feel that they haven't witnessed such a fierce and intense basketball duel in years. Jason then asks Shiau if he can even see clearly, questioning him in a strange way, but Shiau calmly asks why Jason would ask something so odd. The match continues with Jason holding the ball again, and he starts to realize that Shiau is not a normal or ordinary person. Jason recalls that many years ago, there was a generation of super athletes with incredible abilities, a miraculous era filled with gifted players, but they all disappeared after the ban act was enforced. Because of this, Jason begins to believe that Shiau must come from that generation and be one of those people. With that thought in mind, Jason charges straight at Shiau with strong determination, believing it is impossible for him to lose this match, even though he still cannot accept that Shiau possesses such terrifying power and strength. He then tries to punch Shiau with force and violence, but Shiau deliberately makes it look like a foul and an illegal move, and Jason is given a foul warning by the referees. Shiau then tries to steal the ball from Jason's possession, but Jason dodges it, moves away, and pushes Shiau with his strength, but he could not budge him at all as he feels that Shiau seems like a heavy stone-like physique and immovable body. Moreover, Jason is quite scared of Shiau and feels intimidated, and he thinks that he is feeling a pressure as heavy as a mountain from Xiaoyu's presence, and he has never felt fear like this on the basketball court before in his entire career. Jason then quickly tells someone named Mr. White to increase his power to the maximum level possible, but everyone gets worried and concerned hearing that dangerous request. Another scientist then tells the other one to do exactly what Jason says and follow his instructions without question, but the guy says and argues that he can't handle such a power yet because it's too dangerous and risky, so the guy replies and responds that it doesn't matter at all to them because to them Jason is just a toy they are using for testing and experiments and research. After that conversation, they increase Jason's power levels that transforms him into a beast with incredible strength, and he quickly charges past Shiau with tremendous speed, but Ran wonders and questions what kind of technique is that because it looks like he's grazing the ground with his body, using inertia to break the defense and get past opponents. On the other hand, the commentators wonder that Jason is rushing with the ball in his possession, feet off the ground completely with no foul being called, and he is trying to shoot from that low position on the court. Jason just dives through the court towards the basket with incredible momentum and easily throws the ball with confidence. He thinks the ball is going inside as expected of his superior skills that are better than others. The crowd then starts cheering for him enthusiastically, which makes him assume that they are cheering for his power and abilities, and in basketball nothing is impossible for him to accomplish. However, Shiau jumps out of nowhere with amazing timing and blocks the ball before it gets inside the basket and scores points. Seeing that Jason gets shocked and the crowd starts cheering for Shiau instead, saying that his vertical jump is godlike and superhuman. Seeing all the appreciation and praise that Shiau is getting from the audience, Jason thinks that he hasn't lost yet and can still win, but just as he tries to move his body, he notices that his legs are not moving at all anymore and the implants inside them are actually damaged. On the other hand, the scientist says that standard test subjects like Jason are useless and not effective anymore, so he tells the others to send the data to headquarters immediately and tells them to deploy drones and smoke bombs for extraction. Just then, a bunch of guys in staff suits gather around Shiau and surround him completely, and then the drones throw smoke bombs onto the court that makes everyone think and believe that there is some kind of terrorist attack going on in the building. The staff members tell Shiau that he should come with them without resistance because there is someone who wants to meet him urgently, and if he tries to resist or fight back then they will have to use force against him. However, Shiau quickly runs away from there with great speed and knocks down the guys using his basketball as a weapon and hitting them with it. After that, Shiau tries to escape, but two other men suddenly appear out of nowhere, forcing him to fight back and take them down. Ran asks Shiau why security is attacking him, but Shiau explains that those people are not real security and are probably here for another reason, so he tells Ran to stop filming and run with him. Shiau grabs Ran and pulls him along as they run, but Ran complains that his live stream is exploding with viewers and that he hasn't even thanked the donors yet. Sometime later, Ran asks Shiau what really happened earlier, saying that Shiau won the gold prize but was suddenly attacked by drones and armed men. Shiau tells him that he has no idea who those people are, but one thing is certain that they are not part of the organizers. Ran then admits that he is truly impressed, saying that Shiau disappeared for a long time, but now that he is back, his strength has become even more terrifying than before. After that, they turn on the news channel, where reporters are covering today's shocking incident at the grand opening of the City of Nations. The news channel then plays an interview where a man tells the reporter that everything was actually a show planned by the organizers to excite the crowd, but things got a little out of control. The reporter responds that it all looked extremely real, and she also mentions that a masked boy appeared during the event and is now trending all over the internet. At the same time, Ran notices that the platform where he uploads his videos has already deleted the live stream he recorded earlier. After that, Shiau leaves Ran's house, thinking to himself that he is strong now, and not just strong, but stronger than everyone else around him. Meanwhile, two boys walking nearby recognize Shiau because they think he is wearing the same outfit as the masked boy from earlier. After that, Shiau decides to visit the same uncle in the wheelchair he met before, but he notices that the shop is closed even though the uncle is still inside. Shiau walks up to him and asks if he is feeling okay, but the uncle instead asks if Shiau was the mysterious boy from today's basketball game. Shiau denies it, saying that the masked guy was far too strong and much better than him. However, the uncle tells him to stop lying, saying he already knows that the person from earlier was Shiau. He adds that although Shiau is strong, in his eyes he is still full of openings, and if he were to face a real professional player, he would be crushed instantly. After saying that, the uncle directly challenges Shiau to a one-on-one street basketball match. Hearing that, Shiau asks him if he is joking or being serious because he doesn't think he can play basketball because of his leg situation and disability. Later on, they both arrive at the basketball court together where the uncle tells Shiau to go all out with his full strength and not look down on the wheelchair or underestimate him. Shiau then says that it looks like he is serious about this game, so now he is going to go all out and give his best effort, but deep down inside, Shiau is planning on letting him win the game because he thinks and assumes that the uncle is actually useless and can't compete. After that, Shiau runs past him with speed, thinking and believing that he has to score first or else it will look too fake and obvious, but then suddenly, the uncle catches up to Shiau instantly in a speed of flash that surprises him. The uncle tries his best to steal the ball from Xiaoyu's hands, but he couldn't succeed as Xiaoyu manages to get past him quickly with his skills. He thinks and acknowledges that the uncle is actually tough and skilled even without using his spiral force technique, but still, he's in a wheelchair with limited mobility, so he thinks that he could do something about it and win easily, out of nowhere and completely unexpectedly. The uncle steals the ball from Xiaoyu's possession and quickly throws the ball in the basket with precision, scoring a point for himself. After that successful play, the uncle says and reminds Xiaoyu that he told him to give it his all and full effort, but he was too busy looking down on his wheelchair and underestimating him because of it. Shiau then gets the ball again in his possession and control, and he goes straight for a three-pointer shot attempt from beyond the arc, thinking that the old man can't really do anything about this now to stop him from scoring. However, the old man runs as if he has got the powers of the Flash superhero with superhuman speed, and he quickly jumps from his wheelchair with incredible athleticism and explosive power, spinning around in the air gracefully to get the ball and block the shot before it goes in. The uncle then hangs on the hoop with his hands firmly, asking Xiaoyu if he will take this seriously now and give his full effort and ability, but Xiaoyu is completely shocked and amazed by what he just saw and wonders what is actually going on and how this is even possible for someone in a wheelchair. After that, the uncle gets back to his wheelchair and sits down comfortably, joking and saying that he needs to lose weight or else he is going to break this chair with his heavy body and mass. Time goes by quickly and Xiaoyu loses to a 9-2 streak against uncle in their games. Shiau thinks and believes that everything that he learned so far is useless because he can't beat that huge guy with his current skills, but uncle replies and responds that the only thing he lacks is experience and practice. Uncle explains him that there is always someone stronger in life and in basketball, so he shouldn't feel invincible after one win, as he is still far from a true expert's level and there's a golden opportunity coming up very soon to gain experience, which is the Asian Basketball League competition called the World Basketball Open Tournament. At the Basketball League conference room in the building, the group of officials talks and discusses an announcement being dropped and how they already have over 20,000 entrants and participants registered. One of the bald officials says and states that the champion will be one of their stars as they organize and control it, but two major financial groups are footing the bill and paying for everything, so they pocket 40% of the earnings, which is pure profit for them. In addition to that, the ad revenue is already higher than all of last year's earnings combined, and total gains are estimated at over 300% of last year's profits and income. However, another guy with crazy-looking hair on his head tells the official to stop talking as he only cares about money and profit, and if this keeps up and continues, their basketball sport is finished and will be ruined. The bald official tells him in response that sport is a business and industry, and to them winning or losing doesn't matter at all because they are at least making money and earning profits. The crazy-haired guy named Joe asks the official if he forgot about the City of Nations debacle as that black player who came out of nowhere and crushed their stars effortlessly, but a masked man appeared out of nowhere and saved them. The bald official replies that those who lost were the weakest of the stars because their top stars would never lose. However, Joe says that to him that black player was just a test subject and there might be others too that are even stronger. Another official wearing glasses asks that even if it's true then where the threat is, so Joe says that he thinks an organization is plotting something and if those people dominate basketball, then their business will be swallowed whole by them. Furthermore, Joe adds and explains that the key is that masked boy player, as he reminds him of what happened 20 years ago in the past, the golden age of what was called super basketball, with extraordinary talent. It is said and believed that it was a miraculous era full of players with extraordinary abilities and superhuman skills, and the secret general at the time opposed these super players with their powers and enacted the Prohibition Act to ban them. Soon after that law passed, those players vanished completely, and basketball entered an era of normal skill levels, but today's stars are just an illusion and not truly talented until the scandal broke a year later and exposed the truth. He explains that the secretary was secretly dosing athletes with inhibitors and special drugs to suppress their abilities and powers intentionally, but the law was later abolished. He also says that no super player has reappeared since then in basketball and that mystery boy could be the key to the revival of super basketball and its return. On the other hand, the uncle tells Xiaoyu that this gathering and tournament will gather the world's basketball elite players with no entry barriers or restrictions, as anyone can sign up and participate, but there is one important rule to follow. He explains and clarifies that since it's 5-on-5 indoor basketball with full teams, the committee requires team registration only and individual players cannot enter alone. Shiau says and points out that he is alone right now, and even with Xian-Ran if he heals properly and Chen-Jie joining them, that makes only 3 of them total, so they need at least 5 players to form a complete team. Uncle replies that he won't be playing it himself, and he should forget about Chen-Jie who is too arrogant and worthless to be on the team. Uncle then tells him that he should not worry about it too much because he has scouted some talent and skilled players they are going to recruit for the team. Later on, Shiau meets up with Xian-Ran at a location and tells him about it and the tournament, so he tells Shiau that his hand is better and healed now, which means he can join him as well on the team. After that, the 3 of them arrive at an antique shop together where Xian-Ran starts looking at a walnut with great interest and curiosity. The antique shop's owner warns them sternly that if they break the walnut then they are going to pay for it with their money, but it's extremely expensive and valuable, so they should be careful about it and handle it gently. However, Shiau then makes fun of the walnut and mocks it, and that action makes the owner furious and extremely angry, so he grabs him by his collar aggressively. At that moment, the uncle recognizes the shop owner as Lu Zhen and calls out his name, saying it's been a long time since they've seen each other, but the owner also recognizes him as his idol from the past. The uncle tells Lu Zhen that he is building a team for basketball competition, but just as a coach and not a player anymore. Lu Zhen then tells everyone gathered there that he has a very promising center candidate right here in his shop, and then he calls over his cousin to come and meet everyone in the group. Lu Zhen's cousin named Lu Cheng shows up and appears, and he joins their team as a new member. After that recruitment, everyone goes to challenge some people on the basketball court in a match. How long do you think it will take for Shiau and his new team to dominate the World Basketball Open? Comment Spiral Force if you'd like more, and as usual, thank you for watching and we'll catch you in the next one.